Welcome to the RunYogi Diaries podcast. Thanks for stopping by. My name is Santosh Shiva. I'm the podcast host and the creator. This podcast is about stories. Through conversations with ordinary people on extraordinary journeys, through their endurance sports achievements, we explore their motivations, strategies, and what keeps them going. Each of us have the possibility to be athletic. And being athletic is not just physical. It is also a victory of our will over the ordinary circumstances that we live in. I hope you take back some inspiration, some motivation, and hopefully go back and perspire. Stay inspired. Extremely excited to have Dr. Sripathi Kethu back on the seat. He was on my episode number 7. He's back because he just got done an incredible project. 50 states, 50 marathons in 50 states. And he did that in almost a record time of doing 38 marathons in the last 12 months, which is incredible. A huge achievement of logistics, planning, and of course, physical and mental endurance. So we get behind the scenes on how he did it all. Also, if you're new to this podcast and channel, please do remember to subscribe. Do press like if you like this conversation and leave your comments below. Let's dig in. Hey Sripathi, welcome to RunYogi Diaries again.
Hi Santosh, thank you so much for having me again. It's nice to be back. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I think the first time I had you was episode 7, and we are past the 112 episodes. So you are one of the foundational members of this podcast.
Yes, you have come a long way, and I've come a long way. That's nice.
You definitely have come a long way. Yeah. Terrific. So again, Sripathi, glad to have you back. I'll just do a quick introduction of who you are, and then we'll jump in, right? We'll jump in.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, you're a physician, you're a gastroenterologist by profession, right?
Yeah.
You're Dr. Sripathi Kethu, live in Dallas, been a runner for many years. You're an endurance athlete, not just a runner, but also an ardent cyclist. You also do a lot of hiking. You recently went to EBC and all that. So, married, kids, all the good stuff. And right, that's a quick intro about you. Did I miss something?
No, yeah, that summarizes my life. Yeah.
Right. Great. So, hey, we are here to talk about your incredible project that you executed in 2022, and which is the 50 states you got done. You did 38 marathons to get to 50 states, which is a marathon by itself. So we want to get into all of that and understand how got that done. So maybe, Sripathi, I think we should go to ground zero. Your inception. When did you get this idea? Tell us, what we just sitting and sipping some chai or wine or something, or something stronger when you jumped into this?
Yeah, probably something stronger. I thought about it only this past January, less than 12 months ago. Until that time, I was running marathons randomly, picked and choose, which one I wanted to run based on, my schedule, how challenging it is, how interesting it is. And then COVID happened, and almost 18 months, no marathon races, so I didn't run any. And then when I started running, I was thinking, okay, I'm just doing some random marathons. Even back in December when we did ultra marathon, I had the pleasure of running with you in Dallas. Even at that time, it never crossed my mind that I would be doing 50 states, because it's very challenging, time consuming, lot of travel, a lot of training needed and all that. So I was not even thinking. But in January, after I did Lake Mead Marathon in Nevada, that was January 6th. Even at that time, I was not thinking. I was just thinking, okay, what should be the next marathon? When I was looking at it, I thought, okay, I did, when I counted, by that time I did 12 until December 13th was my Lake Mead marathon. So after Lake Mead, I was thinking I've done 13 states. Let me do a few more rather than just repeating the state. By that time, I did Texas 4 times and then California, a lot of other states, but only 13 when I counted it. So I thought, okay, rather than repeating the state, let me do another state. And then, I think it was Hilton Head in South Carolina. That's when I was thinking, okay, I need to have some kind of goal to motivate myself to keep doing it. And then I thought, okay, maybe let me do few states. And then when I started planning it, I was thinking, okay, maybe I should do 50 states. After I've done few after that, maybe like, end of January and beginning of February, after I've done a couple more, I was thinking I should do 50 states. But when I counted how long it'll take, if I do one a month, it'll take probably 3+ years. Then I thought, okay, let me do it as fast as possible. Let's see what I can do. That's when I went into this mode of just, I went crazy with scheduling it. It was extremely hard, probably one of the hardest mental and physical thing I've done in my life. It was marathon of marathons. Yeah. So just planning it, I had this mental algorithm I created because, first thing I needed to do was figure out my call schedule. As a doctor, I think, call schedules, you can't work from home. You have to be in the hospital, emergencies and all that. So you cannot be out of state, out of town. So I needed to exclude all those dates that I'm on call. And then you have family responsibilities. My younger daughter was graduating from high school. So graduation date, her moving into college, or family vacation. So I removed all those weekends away. And then I was left with all these weekends that I can do something. And then I needed to come up with states where I can do 2 in a row. When I counted, then there were not that many weekends left in a year. Even at that time, I was not thinking I can do it in 12 months because, after you remove all the call weekends and, your family obligations and all that, there were not that many weekends left. So then I thought, okay, what if I do a double marathon and see what happens? So first one I did was I combined North Carolina and Virginia. I flew into Virginia. I did marathon. Then I drove to North Carolina. I did that. And, it was very hard. The second marathon, after I did a marathon on Saturday, then driving for 4 or 5 hours. And then, next day doing marathon, my legs felt like bricks. It was very hard. Even first 2 or 3 miles, I was thinking, why did I even think about doing a second marathon in next day? Because at that time, that was new to me. But I was able to finish it. I got some confidence. And then I did a single the next weekend. And then I did a double the following weekend. Then when I did 5 marathons in 1 month, that was, I think, March or April, I got confidence I can do it. Then I started planning all the double marathons. So it was extremely hard because there are so many logistics you need to think about. First of all, flying in. So if you're doing a double marathon, you need to fly in Friday night. So most often I cannot just, quit work and fly Friday morning. So I have to work until 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. So I worked most of the weekends on Fridays until 3 or 4 p.m. Then I took evening flight. So the problem with that is you reach very late in the night. Saturday morning you have marathon. And also, as you know, you need to pick up your bib, your packet and all that. Yeah. Most often I cannot. Even if it is one marathon on Saturday or if it is double marathon, both for both marathons, I reach very late in the night. So what I did was I picked marathons where they let you pick up bib in the morning. So that excluded some of the big marathons because big marathons, they won't let you pick up the bib in the morning.
And where was the resource for you? Where did you research this? Was it the marathonguide.com? Is that where you went for this?
That and findmymarathon.com. These are probably two biggest resources. I cross-checked both because some marathons were listed only on findmymarathon.com, some only on Marathon Guide. I looked at both. I read the reviews, and then you go to their website. First thing I see is packet pickup. Because if they say that, you have to pick up the bib the night before, then that excludes from my list. Some marathons, because I desperately wanted to do it because it will work out good. Their, neighboring states. I was already flying to, for example, New Hampshire. I wanted to do Maine. Maine marathon, they said, no, you can't pick up the bib the morning of the marathon. So I emailed several race directors begging them to, let me pick up the bib in the morning. And most of the race directors were so nice, they're understanding. A lot of them, they just carried just my bib in the morning because they don't have the policy of, letting you pick. But they were just waiting for me. And as soon as I showed up, they gave me the bib.
Nice.
One in Montana, race director, she came to my hotel to drop it off. So by the time I reached the hotel at 11 p.m., at the reception counter, my bib was ready to go. Wow. So most of the race directors were very cooperative. That's how it worked. Otherwise, it's very hard to do double marathons. And I did several double marathons. And also, especially post-COVID travel was a nightmare. So many flight delays because of staffing and, all kinds of problems. Most of the airlines say the delays are cancellations. I think luck definitely favored me because when I traveled so much, 38 states, I had so many delays, but I did not miss even single marathon. So some of it is my planning, but most of it is, I think it's luck. There were so many instances I thought I will definitely miss it because my flight got delayed. I missed my connection, and then I was able to book another flight last minute, and then I reached the hotel at 2 a.m. and then ran, woke up at 4 o'clock to take the shuttle to go to the start line, and you have to take first shuttle because you're picking up the bib that morning. So you need to be there 30 minutes early. So all that. So in spite of all those challenges, I made it to all marathons. I did not miss even single.
Wow.
Anyway, but a lot of planning. Then you have to think about where you're staying, how far it is from the shuttle pickup, and then because I'm doing another some were doubles, but some were singles. But if I'm doing double marathon, there is extra planning because you need to finish, then drive to the airport, take a flight to the next state. Some of them were driving distance, but I've done double marathons where I had to drive, fly across the country. I did one from New Jersey to Wyoming. So a lot of traveling, one, especially New Jersey to Wyoming. I think after New Jersey Marathon, I was between airports, flying and rental car and all that. I spent probably 7 or 8 hours Saturday afternoon, and then I ran Sunday in Wyoming. So, but again, luckily, everything worked out good.
Wow. So these double marathons, in terms of just your the physical experience of it. So, like you were saying, the first one was a struggle. First time you did a double marathon. Second one, you had to kind of push through.
Yeah.
Did it get better for you as you were beginning to do more? You were kind of just breezing through.
Yeah, it was better, but it was never easy because it is still a second marathon in the weekend. But it has gotten much better. I think first double marathon, like I said, was very hard. Even getting up in the morning and then running the first 2-3 miles was hard. But as I did more, it got better. I think the most important thing is, I think, hydration and nutrition. especially Saturday evening when you're in a hurry to fly to another state. You're in the airport. On the way to the airport, you pick up something to eat quickly for lunch, and then you have to plan your dinner, and then keep hydrating throughout that journey from one state to another. So that was the most important thing. It has gotten better. The second marathon gotten better as I did more and more.
So you now train to run a 200-miler race now, right?
That I don't know, but
With
the
that kind of
plan
running?
is. Yeah, so I think it made it easier to run more miles than just one full marathon, for sure. Yeah.
And in terms of your finish times, did you just let go of it and say, you know what, I'm not bothered about it, or were you also also looking at that as you were doing more and more?
If I did a single marathon, I focused on time. I was not pushing myself because the last thing I wanted to do was injure myself.
Right.
When you push very hard, when there is no recovery time, because what I did is not what is not recommended, because it's definitely, as a doctor I can tell, that's not healthy or not recommended to do that many, because the key thing is to give your body recovery time. I did it because I wanted to push and challenge myself. I wanted to see if I can do it, and I'm glad I did it without any injury at all. But going back, I think recovery is very important, because there was no recovery time between marathons for me. If it is a single marathon for that weekend, I pushed myself, but I never really tried for PR. I wanted to do close to my average time. But when I did double marathon, the second marathon on Sunday, it depends on the weather and how long I slept the night before and terrain, all that. I was not really focusing on the finish time.
Amazing. And obviously this is also a huge strain on your will, right? In the sense that you have to stay focused and not let anything that life throws at you to So what's your mental hack? How did you stay focused?
I know that it's cliche to say that where there is a will, there is a way. But I think, I was so motivated to do this. I think my next marathon was my motivator. I think the one after that was my motivating factor. And I knew that because I made this schedule, once I committed to this schedule, I planned like 3 or 4 months in advance, all these marathons. I booked my flight tickets, hotel, rental car, whatever, registered for marathon. I did all this, exchanged my calls. Some of them, there was a conflict, so I exchanged with my partner. So I was all set. My schedule was unchangeable. Because it was so inflexible or unchangeable, that also motivated me. Either do this or I miss. For example, some of these marathons, I'm just giving you an example. Some of these, for example, small states like New Jersey, there are not that many marathons out there. If you miss that marathon, you may not have marathon for 6 or 9 months. That will throw the whole schedule off. I think just having that, sort of force myself to do this and keep myself motivated. But because the schedule was fixed, I was just doing one after another.
Right. And in terms of your physical, in between marathons, right? Were you experiencing any kind of exhaustion? And so what did you do for recovery? Did you do something different for recovery? Did you move something more than your usual that you normally do?
So because I was doing so many marathons, I was not doing any other long runs. If I was, training for a marathon, 3 months out, I did long runs on weekends and then taper, all that in the beginning. That's how I used to do it in a proper fashion. But when I was doing so many marathons, my next marathon was my next long run. So in between, I did short runs, usually 2 or 3 days, 2 to 3 miles, just to, stretch my body. I think stretching was very important, but I was giving time for my body to recover. So I think a lot of recovery, just resting. I did some cross training. I did some, spin bike, or sometimes I did like interval training, or treadmill incline, and did 2 or 3 miles. I did light training, but I focused more on recovery.
Right. And what about nutrition? Did you do anything different during this time?
I increased my caloric intake a lot because last thing I wanted to do was lose weight and lose muscle. So I needed to focus on high protein diet, increase calories, especially as I was getting closer to a double marathon weekend. I increased carb loading starting from Thursday, Friday, carb loading, then Saturday. After marathon, I focused on increasing the calorie intake. But I think that is most important, nutrition and hydration. So I did increase my intake a lot.
And you're a gastroenterologist, so you probably know how your stomach takes all this strain, right? A lot of people,
Yes.
During this kind of volume of running and eating so much can get your stomach upset.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. So that's important. And I know what works, what doesn't work, based on my own experience and experience of my patients, how they react to different foods. So, that's definitely helped. For example, sometimes if you eat a lot of high fiber diet, that may not be good. You might feel really bloated. So try to avoid that, or too much dairy sometimes can cause problem, like a lot of cheese and milk products. So try to stay away from it. So I did take those precautions. I think, I was still eating healthy, but increasing the calories.
Okay. So not drastically anything different.
Not drastically anything different, but if you're consuming 3,000 calories on day one, and then another 3,000 calories, 6,000 calorie deficit right there. So just increasing the calories. No special diet or anything.
Awesome. So definitely one takeaway in terms of what seems to have worked is getting that schedule in place, right? Yes. That was a lot of hard work initially that you had to figure out. Getting that schedule in place was a huge,
that is the huge challenge. I think more than running marathons, I think I spent hours and hours of planning to schedule these marathons 3 or 4 months in advance.
And you did all this by yourself, all this calling, all this reaching out, all of that.
Everything.
Wow.
That's emails,
a lot of work.
A lot of work, yes. And then, just booking the flight itself, that itself is an art, because, you need to time it so precisely so that, especially if I'm running another marathon Sunday, you need to see which is the closest airport. And then, sometimes I flew into New York, LaGuardia, where I rented the car, and then I needed to go to JFK to take my next flight Saturday. So I had to return the rental car, then took the train from LaGuardia to JFK, then took the flight. So, all that you need to plan it precisely.
Yeah, terrific. So how was your, so obviously away from 52 weeks is what we have in a year, right? And of which you've been running 38 weekends, and then the rest, other 14 weekends were out working or whatever. What did your family say about all this? How do you...
I think, my wife and kids are very understanding. So that definitely helped. Without family's cooperation, you cannot do it. And also, I didn't really run 38 weekends because I did so many doubles. So it was more like, probably 28 or something. And I still had time, like I said, all the family obligations, because, your wife should be happy for you to be happy. So, I still allocated weekends for all the things that we just discussed, family vacation, or, graduations, or important parties and all that. So, after excluding all those dates, I came up with these weekends, and then I planned it as per my schedule or available weekends. So
Amazing.
that was very challenging because that excludes a lot of weekends. I really wanted to do, for example, I think this was in Wyoming. There was one marathon I really wanted to do, but I could not do it because that was my daughter's graduation from high school. So I had to pick something else, which worked out fine. I did Casper Marathon in Wyoming, which was great, but I'm just giving you examples. So I missed some of the marathons I really wanted to do. It would have worked out better in terms of logistics, but I could not do it. But,
Yeah.
I was still able to finish it.
Awesome. Smart. You're a smart man.
Thank you. No, I think, for sure, I'm lucky that I was able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that comes to mind is, so many marathons and the terrains they're all road marathons, correct? You didn't do any trail off-road marathons. You didn't have to.
I did not do trail marathons knowingly, but West Virginia turned out to be a trail marathon. But most of them are road marathons.
Okay. And how is it running in these different, I think in terms of the elevation and courses are so different, right? And you're doing this continuously. How was it for you?
It was very hard. Just going back to West Virginia, it's advertised as road marathon, but probably 70% was on trail. It was unpaved, and there were like tree roots in the way, rocks, and trying to just keep yourself upright without falling or slipping. And next day I had a marathon in Rhode Island. So that was very challenging. And then elevation is another one. Wyoming, for example, much higher elevation. Time zone. Alaska, for example, you're like 4 hours behind or 3 hours behind. So each one was challenging in terms of weather, terrain, or elevation. But it worked out fine. I think that makes this very challenging, but I survived it.
You survived it, and I think there's something that you bring to the table. I think from a mental perspective, right? And it is probably that you're so undeterred by environment. Like one example, you said you landed at 2:00 and you had to get up at 4:00 and go and get into the race and all this traveling. One thing, it seems like there is something you draw upon from deep within, which gets you into a Zen-like focus. I think this is your nature. Is that your nature? Or you developed this?
It is. Yeah. No, I think, running definitely helped. Some of it is my basic personality where, if I focus on something, I really want to get it. I do everything I can to get it. But running definitely helped because running is like my meditation. I think you go into this zone. For example, I had so many marathons. I slept 1 or 2 hours. But when I started running, I went to this zone where it's almost like a meditation. I cannot do meditation because I can't sit still for that long. So I was never successful in conventional meditation, but I think running is like I get into this zone. After that, it doesn't matter. You are in this zone where, whether it's elevation or terrain, whatever, you're in this zone and all you see is get to the finish line. So I think, some of it is definitely mental thing because, a lot of times marathons, maybe 50% is physical, but 50% is definitely mental. And being a marathon runner, that. Even giving this example of ultra marathon we did in Dallas together, the night before, I did not sleep even a single minute.
Oh, wow.
I did not sleep at all. And, we did ultra marathon that day. So
and you did well.
Thank you. So you did well too, actually. That was a good, actually Dallas is a good marathon course. I love it. Around the White Rock Lake and all.
We loved it,
So I think, being disciplined with your training, with, being careful with the nutrition and hydration, stretching before and after, strength training, All these will help you prepare both mentally and physically to do this. It's definitely not easy, but if I can do it, anyone can do it. I think it's just focus on the goal.
Yeah, makes sense. Terrific. So what I want to do next is, get into a little bit of some of these ratings. Let's ask you some questions ask you to rate some of these. We don't have time to go to all the 38, but let's at least get to the ESTs of the marathons. So let me ask you that, and maybe we'll go through that process.
Sure.
So let's start with what is your most challenging of the races in the last 38 that you did?
Last 38, I think Columbus, believe it or not, I never expected that Columbus, Ohio is going to be that challenging. The reason was it was unexpectedly cold. The marathon's name is Warm Up Columbus. So that is the first marathon, I think, just towards the end of winter. It's usually first week of February. I knew that it was going to be cold. I was prepared. I had 2 layers. I had thermal and then, another jacket and all that. But when I went there, the temperature was 18 degrees or 17 degrees. Very windy. It snowed the night before. There was ice on the roads. They tried to clear the course, but it was still not safe, and there was ice and all that. It was extremely cold. That was my most challenging. I was thinking, it's going to be Alaska or some other state or, higher elevation like, Montana or something. But Columbus turned out to be one of the most challenging marathons. And when I was sweating, it became icicles, my eyebrows, my eyelashes, there was ice, and then, it was extremely uncomfortable. That was challenging mainly because of the weather and snow and ice on the course. And also, it is a marathon where you do 1.1 mile loops. So you did 26 of those.
Wow. That's a mental game.
That was a mental game. And it is very challenging. There was nothing there. In a regular marathon course, you can look around, you have change in scenery as you go. So there is, with change in scenery, you feel like you're moving. But when you see the same scenery 26 times, it's mentally very challenging. And also, they had a system where you had to count your loops.
Oh.
Yeah, because, although they had the chip on the bib and all that, for some reason, you're supposed to count it because the system doesn't count or something. And I had this, I usually wear Garmin watch, but that day I wore my Apple Watch. Apple Watch, because it touch screen and I had my sweatshirt on top of it as it was rubbing, it touched the screen and the watch stopped after, 4 or 5 miles. And then I realized it, I turned it on. I didn't know, how much I missed, and then it turned off again. So I ended up, running 28 point something because I did 2 more loops extra. I didn't want to do less and not get the credit, and then they'll say, you did not finish it. Yeah. So just to be on the safe side, I think, I did 2 more. So I ended up running 28.5 or something in that marathon, in that cold and all that. And there was no warming tent at the end of the marathon. Your warming tent was your cold car that you parked probably a quarter mile away from the finish line. So you just took the medal and a drink, and then you walk painfully to your car, and then you heat up the car. That's your warm-up. Wow. So that was warm-up Columbus. And there were others, Atlanta. I know that you loved Atlanta. Atlanta Marathon itself is good, but it rained. It poured throughout the marathon. That was in March. So it was still cold. It was in 40s. So I had 2 layers, and then, both layers got wet. All the bibs were on the course because people lost bibs because it was so wet. And the bib was not like waterproof. So a lot of people lost their bibs. So they organizers had a hard time giving them credit because bibs were lost. So there were few, but I think Columbus is probably the most challenging out of 38.
And Columbus was not a double marathon. It was a single one or a double one?
It was single one.
It was a single one.
So that was first week of February. So that was my third marathon. At that time, I was not even thinking about double. I was just, I did Lake Mead in Nevada, and then I did this South Carolina, Hilton Head in January too. And then this was the third marathon for the year. I was thinking, okay, I wanted to do different states. After that, I think more towards the end of February or March, that's when I started planning. And then I thought, okay, I have to do double, otherwise it'll take 3 years to do this. So, no, that was single.
Awesome. So let's go to the next one. What was your, the opposite of it? What was the easiest one for you?
Oh, easiest one, actually, there were few. I think Portland, Oregon. I did one. It's called Sauvie Island Marathon. That's near. It's on an island, but right next to it's Portland suburb, basically. It's on an island. That was very nice. Actually, Hilton Head is another good one. So there are few very easy, enjoyable ones.
So easy as in it was effortless for you.
Effortless, flat course, perfect weather, everything worked out.
Okay, I'm just writing down a few other awards we need to give your 38. Okay, so that was the easiest one. The next one was, what do you think was the most funnest marathon? The one that in your view, was like, wow, this is like a celebration.
I think Honolulu. Honolulu Marathon. It was good. It's so different. That was my 50th state, so that made it also, celebration by itself. So Honolulu was fun. It got very hot, but we started at 5 a.m. That helped. But it got into 70s. That was fun. A lot of crowd support, and all the bands and all that. So that was probably one of the funnest marathons.
Nice. All right. The next award, best organized marathon in your view.
I think, there are several, so it's unfair to say one, but if I have to pick one, I think Fargo Marathon was so well organized, very nice. I loved it.
Okay.
Yeah. Fargo Marathon.
And I know this may be a difficult question for you to answer, but what was the worst organized?
I think Montana Queen Bee Marathon. It was very challenging course. My double marathon weekend, and most water stations, they didn't have any sports drink. All they had was water. It's not safe to run a marathon with just drinking water, because you can have electrolyte problems and all that. Usually I carry some goo gel or something, but it was not enough. I still wanted to get some sports drink, and especially the challenging course you needed, but most of the water stations were not well stocked, and there was just water, not much anything else. I wish the course support was a little bit better, and there was nothing. There was no course support, not much at all. So
that was the one you got your bib in the room, though.
Yes, I know. I know. So yeah, she delivered it late night. So I have to thank the race director for that. But next day was a different story. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one. The marathon which you felt had the best, crowd support.
Let's see. Again, I think Honolulu had so much support. It was like whole Honolulu was, I think, celebrating the marathon. That was good. Even some of these smaller marathons, for example, Casper Marathon in Wyoming was so good. Fargo is another one with great crowd support. Even there was one in Sioux City, Iowa, that was good crowd support. There are several. these are all very small marathons. Oh, another one, Erie Marathon in Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
Great crowd support. I mean, they had a competition for, I think, every water station. I think they had some kind of competition. Whoever we had to vote as runners, which one is the best water station, and
Oh.
each water station was manned by a charity.
Hmm.
So whoever won the first, second, third prize got extra money for that charity. So
Wow, nice.
they were going overboard, all these kids and all that. They were so enthusiastic. We had water station every 2 or 3 miles, and each water station is manned by one charity. So each one was trying to overdo another one, so outdo another one. So they did a really good job. So that made it very enjoyable. Although it rained most of the marathon, that was miserable. But the crowd support was very good.
Amazing. Nice. The next one I have is what was the smallest marathon you did in terms of number of runners?
Um, I think there was one in India. Let's see, this was in Waukesha, Wisconsin. I think it's called Mighty Mo Marathon or something. There were like 70 people. That was
Really?
the small. Yes, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That is
And
really small.
it is small, and it was in like a running trail. It was paved trail. It was
Okay.
fairly flat, not much support, but they did decent job for a small marathon.
Nice. Almost like a weekend long run, group
Yeah,
long
exactly.
run.
That's exactly how it felt like. It felt like one of these trails that we run in Dallas. That's exactly how I felt.
Nice, nice.
And then it was a big loop. So, yeah, it was just trail marathon.
And the flip side, which was the largest in terms of
Um,
running size?
Out of this 38, it was Honolulu.
Honolulu.
There
Yeah,
were
that's a big one.
20,000 people. They said that that was the fourth largest in the country. Of all the marathons I've done, I think New York I think New York and London were the biggest. I think London was the biggest that I've run
Right, right.
2 years ago. But out of 38, Honolulu was the biggest one.
Nice,
19,000 marathon runners.
nice. And which marathon was the most complicated from a travel logistics for you?
Alaska, Juneau, Alaska. Because
Juneau,
there's
Alaska. Wow.
yeah.
That's like middle of
So
nowhere.
middle of nowhere. It's not Anchorage, Juneau, Alaska, and it's a Saturday marathon. I worked until like 4:30 Friday evening, and then I had flight at 6 o'clock, 6:30 from Dallas to Seattle, Seattle to Juneau. And then my flight got delayed in Dallas. So by the time I reached Seattle, I barely made it. Basically, I got out of the flight. It was a different terminal. So I ran to the different terminal. And then when I walked into the gate, I was the last one. They were about to close the door
Wow.
for the flight. If I missed that, I would have missed Alaska after all that flying into Seattle. And then, it took almost probably 10 to 12 hours to make it to Juneau. That was another marathon, just flying in there, flight delays and all that. I reached around 1:30. I landed at 1:30. And then I could not find Uber or Lyft, or I couldn't even rent a car. So when I emailed the race director that, I can't find a rental car, is it okay just land and call a cab or Uber? He said they're not reliable, but you can try it. I didn't have a choice because there was no rental car available. So I just flew in, took my chance, and rental car, there were no taxis. No one was picking up rental car companies. And then I waited. Uber was not available. I started walking to the hotel. It was 7 miles. At 1:30, there was light drizzle and it was pitch dark. I
Wow.
started walking because I had marathon. I had to get up at 5 o'clock to go to the marathon. After walking 2 or 3 miles, I found a cab. I almost stood in front of it because I thought, this is it. This is my chance. Otherwise, there were not that many cars going around 2 a.m. there. And then there was a drunk man in the car, and I asked him, "Can I share the car with you?" He said, "Yeah, that's fine." So I just sat with him and, drove to the hotel. Otherwise, I would have walked all 7 miles.
Oh, wow.
So
That's an adventure by itself.
that was an adventure. So by the time I went to the hotel, it was 2:30 or something. I had probably 2 or 3 hours of sleep, but that was challenging.
Wow. Wow, that's quite an amazing story. And another one that comes to mind is, in terms of a course, which was the most difficult course for you in the 38?
It's hard to pick one. I think West Virginia was one of the hardest ones. Like I said, it was half of it was unpaved, and last 10 miles was very hilly. And the night before it rained, so all this unpaved trail, it was, a lot of mud and rocks, and it was slippery, and all the leaves fallen, all that. It was in October, so because of the fall time, there were all these fallen leaves, and then they were all slippery. So that was probably one of the hardest ones.
Hardest. Awesome. I think I'm running out of awards. Anything else? Any special mentions for anything that you want to talk about among your 38 that we missed?
No, I think we covered. I think we covered all categories. Yeah,
all categories. So which one would you award as the best one? Like if we were to pick one and saying, all 38, that was the best. Who would that?
It is so hard to pick one. Oh man, that's a hard one because there are so many variables. I think probably Hilton Head Marathon in South Carolina. I think that was good. The day was perfect. It was perfect weather, flat course. So no altitude there. It's a beautiful course. Yeah. So again, it's unfair to pick one, but if I have to pick one, I think it'll be the one.
Yeah. Sripathi Award for the best marathon.
Yes, you can say that.
Awesome. That's great. So you have the 51st one pending, like we were talking about. The cherry on the top is the last one in DC, right?
Yeah. I might do that because, so Marine Corps, I was not able to do it until now. That's in the list of marathons I want to do. And that will give me 50 states plus Washington, D.C. If not for Washington, D.C., I want to do Marine Corps just because it's one of those very, popular marathon among marathoners. So I want to do it. So most likely I'll do it this year if I can get in.
Right. So 52 and 52 or something like that, right? Knock off your 52 and 52.
Yes.
Awesome. That's great, Sripathi. I think thanks for sharing. Obviously, what you've done in 12 months is hard to capture in a 45-minute conversation, but hopefully we pick the highlights and people who are listening to this can get inspired to do, if not 38, at least a fraction of it in a year. And I'm surely inspired listening to what you've done. But I guess I think the key takeaway, at least for me, is the way the planning. Once you got your planning in place, that itself was a huge, self motivation to say, hey, this is something we can do, right?
That's what I tell even the new runners when they call me, talk to me about how to train, how to run a 10K or a half marathon. That's what I tell them. Just register for a marathon or 10K, whatever their goal is. Register first and then go reverse. Don't start training and then register, in the future, some unknown future. Register for it. That'll be your biggest motivator. Then you're forced to train for it.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah. Great. What next are you cooking? What's next project?
So I have Tokyo Marathon next. So that will complete my 6 majors. There is Abbott's 6 major marathons. So I have finished 5 already. I'll be doing my 6th one, the final one. so that I'll get six-star medal from Abbott World Majors. So that's in about 10 weeks or so. I have Tokyo. And
Okay.
then, I have several marathons planned, but it won't be as busy as this year. It'll be more like pick and choose what I want to do. There is one in Europe I want to do. It goes through 3 countries. That is, I think, probably only one marathon that goes through 3 countries. It starts in Germany, then goes through Switzerland, and ends in Belgium, I think. So that's a nice marathon, beautiful course and all that. So I might do that. So I have few planned.
Right. And now that you're in half century, a century is also a feasibility.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. So is that for that you're giving a little bit more time, or I want to get this in 18 months kind of a thing?
No, I think I'll give it more time. I'm 70 plus now in terms of total number of full marathons. So yeah, 70
that's not
plus.
far away.
Yeah, it's not far away.
It's not far away.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Awesome.
if I do it like this year, it'll be done in less than a year. But I'm in no hurry. So.
No, you got the half stage. It's like in cricket, right? You've done your 50. Now you can just sit
now.
and, do your singles.
Slow batting. Yes.
Awesome, Sripathi. That was a fun conversation. Good to get a sense of, first of all, so many marathons exist in this country. Yeah. And small, big, medium, of different kinds. And so that's such a eye-opening, to just hear about that. Kind of coming up to a wrap-up here. I think we covered most of what we wanted to cover. I'll give you the last word. Any final message you want to give our audience?
I think running, I think we talked about this before, but running is probably one of the most transformative experiences for a lot of people. Definitely for me, it changed my life both physically and mentally. And most people, they don't enjoy running because a lot of times it's very hard when you start. Even when I started, I could not even run a quarter mile. This was not long ago. I started in my mid 40s, so not that long ago. I was not able to run a quarter mile. But run slowly. Give running a chance, because it is probably one of the best aerobic exercises you can get both mentally and physically. This is very rewarding. So there is always this mental barrier. First 3 miles is always hard. Second 3 miles gets better. So give it some time. Try running. I think it's a very life-changing experience.
Yeah, coming from a physician, that's not that much more credibility to it.
Yes, and I was able to motivate so many of my patients who either became runners who were never runners before, looking at me, or who were runners when they were in high school, but then left running and then got motivated talking to me. There are a lot of patients who talk to me all the time. Okay, when is your next marathon? When is your 50th stage? So there are several of my patients who follow my running journey and they get motivated. So that's very rewarding to me also.
Absolutely. Awesome, Sripathi. That was a great conversation. I'll let you go and enjoy the rest of the evening, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Santosh. Thanks for having me again. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye.